One of the questions that we continue to hear for businesses that are getting back to work, right, is I have workers that I need to send out of the country. They have to travel. It's a basic need for my continuity of my business. What are your suggestions now or pathways moving forward for travel?
Yeah, travel is definitely that wild card where we're trying to maintain a coherent lifestyle here at home, but now we're talking about getting out into the world again, which can be scary. It's scary for people to leave the doors of their homes right now. So one of the things is that as you travel, you can safely travel. That's still very possible. I think it's just understanding really how the virus spreads. So it spreads through those respiratory droplets. And if it does come in contact with the surface, making sure that you're using really good hand hygiene. So when you're feeling like, it's common for a lot of people to touch their faces when they're just out and about, rubbing their nose, any of that kind of stuff. So it's really understanding those core principles and then applying those to your travel experience. So if it's getting onto the plane, it's just making sure that your area is sanitized well. And I know airlines are doing a very good job right now of ensuring those safe environments. It's through getting through the terminals and taxi services and all of those different exchanges. It's really understanding where your danger points are, where virus transmits the most, and it's taking the proper precautions. And then it's just like you're navigating your day-to-day life right now is you head out to the grocery store, you're still making sure you're using good hand hygiene and putting a mask on and keeping proper distance. Those are the same principles that are going to keep you safe while you're traveling. Depending on what the protocols are for your institution, your state, or even the country, testing may be required. And so it's one of the things that is very crucial. Timing is everything with testing. So one of the things that we really want to be able to provide is accurate results that are done in a timely manner. So one of the services we provide through HealthBaar is those testing services for pre-travel or post-travel. So if you have a flight scheduled, we can schedule the day at an appropriate time before that and then after for returning to work. So that way you have verification that you're virus-free before travel and then verification that you're virus-free coming back home.
Let's talk a little bit about, we always hear you and I could be carriers right now. You and I could be asymptomatic, right? Meaning we have the virus right now and we don't know. There's a lot of talk about that there's a large population that are asymptomatic, and then there's individuals that are truly really sick. Can you help kind of build that forward on what that really means, being asymptomatic and those who are really sick with the virus?
Yeah. So asymptomatic carriers is somebody who has the virus inside of them but is not showing any symptoms. So kind of inherent in the name itself, but doesn't mean that individual still doesn't have the ability to transmit the virus. Again, if you're thinking about how the virus spreads, it can spread through, a general conversation. It's not going to go very far if it does, especially if I'm wearing my mask. It's going to block any spread. The main mode of transmission is that coughing and when I expel respiratory droplets into the air. So an individual who's asymptomatic will have the virus, but their ability to transmit it to somebody else is much lower. And really their body hasn't mounted a very strong immune response to it. So versus when somebody who does have the virus and is exhibiting symptoms, it's really their body's immune system that's fighting off and reacting to that virus. And so everybody's immune systems are going to react a little differently. So somebody who has a lot of symptoms, they are going to have a very strong immune response, which is then going to cascade into the various symptoms that they have. So the amount of virus they have in their body is more than likely exactly the same, and studies have shown that. It's just that ability to transmit it is much higher with somebody who has symptoms because they're actively expelling the virus into the air.
Having the common cold or the flu or the coronavirus or hay fever, just allergies in general, there's a lot of variations between all of those. Obviously, the coronavirus is super important right now, but can you kind of talk about the differences between those and why vaccines, when they come in the future, or some are already here, for the various treatments or remedies for each one that we talked about?
Yeah. Allergies is one of those key ones where a lot of people have seasonal allergies and they know exactly what it feels like. So one of the things I would ask somebody who maybe is worried about having coronavirus is first determining what symptoms they have. So one of the things that commonly accompanies allergies is a lot of upper nasal style of congestion, runny nose. You really aren't having a lot of fevers associated with your annual allergies. And if an individual has symptoms consistent with what their yearly allergy kind of schedule is, that's a pretty good indicator. This is more than likely just allergies. We would have them maybe take an over-the-counter remedy, some Benadryl or some Motrin, take what they typically would. And if that helps relieve the symptoms, then we're fairly assured that it's going to be just allergy related. Common colds typically have more congestion, lower grade fevers, which you may see with the coronavirus as well, and maybe a cough, but really, again, that key indicator is that shortness of breath. And so people have experienced the common cold before and they kind of know what it feels like. Usually with coronavirus, it's going to feel much different. They're going to feel like they're just having a lot harder time breathing with that. So one of the things that, if you have the ability to take cards off the table with a vaccine or something else, that is something that, somebody should strongly consider is if you have been vaccinated from, influenza, as we do every year, that helps take a little of that guesswork away. So if somebody comes to me with symptoms and I'm trying to determine what they may have, if I know they've had the influenza vaccine, that helps me take those cards off the table a little bit and say, all right, am I dealing with the common cold or maybe coronavirus? But instead of having 3 things to think about, I maybe have 2 things to think about now. So it helps really take away some of that guesswork in the assessment related aspects. So if you have the ability to take some of those cards off the table, I would say definitely do that.
So influenza A and B, I know what that means, but a large majority of our people that we're going to be watching, you and I have a conversation here. What is influenza A and B?
Yeah. Every virus has different strains typically. And so viruses are considered in families, just like coronavirus is considered in a family. Coronavirus is a family of viruses which do cause the common cold. They cause different disease outbreaks, SARS and MERS that were around previous years. This is, SARS-CoV-2 is the newest coronavirus that has increased lethality and the ability to transmit versus some of the other versions of it. Similar with influenza, you have influenza A and B, and there's several different strains. We had H1N1, we had all kinds of different strains. You hear about H2N3, you hear all those different numbers, but then you have kind of the A and B sides to it. So there's the ability to get both of them in a flu season. You can get influenza A and then get influenza B later. And so this is where, when we're talking about coronavirus and we're talking about vaccines and how viruses replicate and change, unfortunately, there's not a cure-all with these viruses, but we try to develop vaccines and provide those treatments that will target those most prevalent or most common or most deadly strains of it. So when you get your vaccine, it'll have various different strains in it, and that's to help your body build up immunity to it before you get the actual virus.
Oh, that's awesome. Nathan, your energy and passion and knowledge it is up here. So I really appreciate you taking time to spend the afternoon with OVD. And we have to make sure we're social distancing and putting our masks on. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate it. And no, you guys have been great too. And looking forward to future conversations.
Absolutely.